Welcome to Elevation Nation with your hosts Sam Panich and Parker Yablon. Elevation Nation is a community focused on bringing together young adults who are elevating themselves and others every day. Each week, we welcome a new elevator to share their story and experiences to help you conquer the real world.
Elevation Nation, we have such a special guest. I feel like I've been friends with this guy for the last 5 years, following his journey. You probably know him by his name on social media, but his full name, Tony Polcari, Tony P in DC. Welcome to Elevation Nation, brother. I am so excited to chop it up with you today.
Thank you for having me, guys. First of all, it's funny. So 5 years, it's been almost like 3.5 years now. And I know that my stuff wears very thin on people. So it's been a few years longer in people's minds. I understand that because I would wear myself out too. But I'm just honored to be here and to be talking to you guys. I love what you all have built, what you're doing in terms of, your speaking and talking about such important issues when it comes to, mental health and just trying to find your path. Because especially now in this era we're living in, no one can find their path, and we're always trying to figure out what's next. And I think it's great to have these conversations.
We are pumped to get into it with you, Tony. I mean, just to Sam's point, been following you for, I guess, 3.5 years now. Not more than Sam.
Makes sense.
5 is, it can only be 3.5 years.
Right, but
But
I
you have an
get it,
interest. Yeah, totally. You have an interesting story, though. You come from a similar world of us in corporate. Then you're like, you know what? I'm going to go out on my own. We start every single Elevation Nation podcast the exact same way.
though.
We got to hear your elevator pitch. Tell us a little bit more about who you are.
So, name is Tony Polcari. Well, it's actually Anthony Polcari. My mother and all my family will never call me Tony as long as they're alive. So Anthony Polcari, born in the Boston area, was basically an only child for most of his life. I ended up having an adopted sister come into my life later on. I'm blessed to have that. And I think to describe me, I'm very much the weird kid next door. It's like, the kid that is, very kind of, eccentric. I'm very much not the typical kid. I never was the typical kid. I always I liked old music and Frank Sinatra when I was 3 and 4 years old. I was playing golf when I was, 7 and 8, and then, played again when I was 12 to 13. I I speak I've spoken for years in movie lines, whether it be nostalgic movies or Sopranos lines. I'm always just talking to them or talking to my parents in those lines all the time. And so, for me, I always kind of beat to the sound of my own drum or beat to my own drum. I don't need to add that, but I beat to my own drum. And, that was my whole personality for most of my life. And I was kind of a teacher's pet through, K through 8, and then, getting into high school was very much, again, trying to find that person, right? Who was I? And, I've always kind of been known as like the personality kid, even though I kind of had these, interesting, likes and dislikes. I always just wanted to, bring joy to people and always wanted to kind of be charismatic and really kind of bring just like energy, right? So from, kindergarten through high school, I always was known as the kid who was always positive. And that was a thing that carried me for a lot of years. A lot of teachers, enjoyed that. I made friends that way. I was bullied the first couple of years, as I got into school and trying to find who I was. But then as years went on, I was able to actually, find my stride and actually, people liked my personality. Then throughout high school, I developed some mental health issues, and honestly about that. Had suicidal ideation and actually an attempt that was, looking back at it, it was more of a cry for help than anything else. It was kind of one of those situations that was very tough and embarrassing at the time, and it kind of shattered this whole positive thing about me that I felt and that I wanted to portray to others. And the sad irony is that it was a year after that, after what happened with me and my struggles, that Robin Williams took his own life. And I remember like thinking about that when that happened and going like, wow, like this mental health can grip you and can take the most positive people, the funniest, the people that try to bring joy, those are the folks that you have to watch out and look out for sometimes because they're, maybe something's going on inside, right? So that's kind of my, upbringing in life. And I had great parents, I had wonderful parents that had just, done right by me. Divorced early on in life, which was tough, but my parents, kept things together, made sure that I was okay all the time. So that was a really great thing. I also have recovery in my family. My mother's 25 years clean and sober, which is fantastic. And she's been a wonderful inspiration to me and has really been a major part of my mental health journey as well. And my dad couldn't ask for a better guy. Talk about someone that does anything for anybody when they need it most. He's there for you. So love him. His humor is a little bit different than mine. We're very different. But the irony is that my father was the only one that actually believed in the broadcasting journey for me, which we're now here with. So that's kind of my backdrop. But the real pitch of what I do is I think that I'm just, I'm eccentric. I'm kind of a weird dude, and I embrace that. I'm not the typical bro that you see online. A lot of the online guy content creators, they're kind of this manosphere, car salesman energy with the tank top and how much can I bench or how much money can I make. And I came into this game just at the beginning. I just wanted to kind of give, young people in DC or any city just inspiration to get outside. This is post COVID. This is a couple years after COVID, just to get out and try new things. And if you're lonely in a new city and you don't really know what to do with your colleagues and you're post COVID and you're in the working world, how do you get that to work, right? How do you actually build your life? And I just started doing that. And what happened over time, whether it be my cooking videos or my weekend of the life or week in the life vlogs about what I'm doing in DC, if I'm traveling, if I'm doing this, that it just kind of became a personality. And I think it was a really great medium to shine the personality that I had actually built through the years before and also doing broadcasting in high school and college. And just that personality started to shine through. And I think people have liked it for the last 3.5 years or 5 years and what I call Tony P. Dog years when it comes to my content, because content is dog years, basically. Um, but I think what's been able to do that is it's the formats are important, and yeah, they help me go viral. But I think maybe just the way I've talked about things, just kind of had a more positive outlook on things, kind of an aw shucks. It's like, I'm kind of bumping into this world trying to figure things out. I'm kind of like, an unaware travel host, right? I'm kind of like I'm kind of traveling without people knowing about it or without me knowing about it. I'm just kind of bumping into the world as I see it, right?
Mm.
And so that's kind of my thing is that my content is not just vlogs or cooking, but it's me just like trying to savor the world, trying to savor the juices of this life, whether it be museums or learning something new like guitar or rediscovering broadcasting or trying to cook a meal. It's just bumping into the world and trying to savor the juices that this life can bring us.
Mm.
Sorry, I was kind of long winded.
I mean, it's a nice, big, long elevator. I love it.
That was
Tall
7 elevators.
building. We're go. Oh yeah.
That
Well,
was
I
like Empire
mean,
State Building.
I like that. Great building, first of all. Great lights. Love that
Experiments.
it changes all the time. But Tony, first of all, got to say right off the bat, thank you for getting vulnerable with us up front,
Pleasure.
honestly,
No,
so
pleasure.
people can understand who you are, where you come from, the people that you surround yourself
Yeah.
with. And I
Yeah.
think just from hearing you talk through your long elevator pitch up the Empire State Building,
Yes.
I think I take away the fact that you're authentically you. And maybe that's taken time, but oftentimes to your point, when you look on social media, you see people who are creating almost for an audience that they're trying to target. Whereas I
Huh.
feel like with your content, it always feel like you're going through life and you're just creating it how you see it and truly see it, and you feel that, and that's why I believe possibly people
Thank you.
gravitate towards you because they see themselves in you, in that authenticity. So I really do just appreciate all the work that
Thank
you're
you.
doing, having you today. I want to talk a little bit more because you did work in corporate, right? You haven't been doing this
No.
for your whole career. Let's
God,
talk a
no.
little bit more about, like, were you liking corporate? Were you like, I
Yeah.
gotta do something to get out? Were you building this on the side? Walk us through it.
Great question. So it's funny. When I was in college, I decided to go the accounting major because I wanted the safest route. And even though in high school and college I had done broadcasting, and I had people in the Boston area say you should go to Syracuse, and I had the application written out. I decided last minute to not apply for the Newhouse School because I said, you know what? corporate consulting or accounting or something like that, business oriented finance is going to be a better career for me because, guys, I viewed a lot of my life as about my dreams being a bunch of check boxes, a big house, big salary, big career, being known as great at consulting. I wanted to be in the consulting magazines or like the accounting, whatever my profession was. I wanted to be in those magazines. Okay. And then I wanted to have a big house in the Boston suburbs and cars and a, beautiful family that had, we had the holidays at our house and money wasn't an object because when I was younger, up until I would say college, money was a conversation, very big one in my house. And, I had family members that were, my grandmother lived in I think it's section 8, I say section 6 is what for elderly housing, but she lived in, assisted housing for, years. And, my mother had to, rebuild her career and, my parents kind of really started to make more money as I got older and I got into college and out of college. So, I really understood the value of money. Now, my parents took care of me. I never wanted for anything. I never had like, any real struggles. But, you know, we were, at many times paycheck to paycheck. And I didn't realize that until years on because, I got older and realized that things, aren't always easy. Things aren't always automatic. But I just realized that I wanted to be rich because I was around all these people. I ended up getting an 80% scholarship to go to a Catholic high school, and my car was the worst one on the lot. And I got to see all these kids that would invite me to country clubs, and I was a caddy at a course for a couple of years, and then I worked in the golf industry at a golf shop, and I had people take me out to their golf courses, and I got to see this, and then I scrounged together money towards the end of my college career to have a junior membership at the course that I had done some work at. So all of that, I wanted wealth. So I was like, okay, sorry, and a high school career, sorry. I wanted wealth. And so, okay, corporate's the way to go, whether it be finance, accounting, consulting. So I did that for 4 years, got an accounting degree, went to KPMG, was there about a year and change. Great company, great people. I have nothing. I know I know EY guys here, but I do love KPMG. I do like EY, but KPMG was my first love. They're awesome. They really took a chance on me. They believed in me from Richmond from my sophomore year on. They really wanted to work with me, and I loved them. They're awesome. And I did accounting advisory and audit. I did a rotation program. They actually accepted me into it my senior year. And great people. I enjoyed the work. I actually got really good performance reviews, but I didn't really love the work. I thought it was tedious. I was always second guessing myself, and Excel was always a struggle point for me, and I had to really struggle with that. Ironically, now with AI, it wouldn't have mattered as much, but it's neither here nor there. So did that and then said, you know what, I need to make a jump. I want to go into the consulting world. I want more strategy, marketing, I want to bring it all together. This company, Kaiser Associates, which was it was a spinoff. I think it was a spinoff of like BCG at one point. Michael Kaiser was the founder. He actually became the president of the Kennedy Center years later. And he started the company in his 20s and then built it up. And it was a really cool company. It's big clients. We just happened to get smaller projects compared to like McKinsey, BCG, like where we could get smaller projects with a more VP level as opposed to CEO, but we still had major blue chip clients. And they promised, hey, you're going to get to have client work right away. And you're going to be doing presentations in front of C-suite and VP levels before you know it. You're going to be doing your own research, your own slides. You're working with partners directly. I'm like, sign me up. So my buddy from Richmond got me the interview. Is he had done the same thing. He'd done accounting and then went to consulting. And this is during the great resignation period where everybody's getting higher salaries in 2022, 2023. And they hired me. And then I went to Kaiser. I moved. They gave me 3 months and I moved from the Boston suburbs. I lived with my dad for about a year and change when I was at KPMG. And they moved me down to DC and that was in 2022. And then I started there, loved the work for almost 2 years, doing, fun, really enjoying it until uh, I had gone through a breakup. And this is like my second year in DC. And my boss is like, you got a lot of time in your hands now. Like, you got to get your head in a good place. Go do a thing you've been wanting to do, but you haven't done it. And you're kind of holding back. And I had been thinking about content because I had been seeing all these things of like what to do in DC, what to do in different cities. And that helped me get out of my kind of comfort zone a little bit when I first moved out. It also helped me plan stuff with my work friends who became like my family. Like I would plan things based on what I saw from other influencers in DC and Baltimore. And I said, you know what? What if I did something like this? Because I mean, I think it really helped me. Maybe I can help somebody, and maybe I can help them just beyond places to go, but maybe things to do or how to approach your life as a young person in your 20s. So started posting videos. I love to do fit checks, and I love to dress as a suit in a suit every day. I love the tie and everything and looking good for the office. I started just doing that. And then that was the easiest piece of content. Then I did it's so foggy to me now, it's really funny. But then doing, like, the cooking videos, I love to cook, and I loved cleaning my apartment, I loved doing, like, these little things of adulting, I just loved them. It was so much fun, and just, like, trying new things every week in museums, just, like, kinda, like, again, bumping into the world. And 3, 4 months in, not getting a lot of bites, my aunt was the only one who was commenting, and my friends tell me, this is, like, years after, they said, "We were almost gonna having an intervention with you to say, 'Stop doing this stuff, it's really cringe.'"
No
And
way.
literally a week and a half later, boom, it takes
Mm.
off. And so 4 to 5 months in, the brand takes off. And, the account starts going 50,000, 100,000, 150, 200, almost a million. Then I'm getting millions of views by September, October of 2023. And, then I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like this is a real thing. And I'm starting to get brand opportunities. And I had an agent that reached out and said, "Hey, you want to work with us?" And I said, yes. And then I started getting brand deals, and I'm getting two streams of income. I thought maybe I'd get 5 or 10,000 followers, maybe get some free food or, maybe some free events now and again, maybe a little bit of money on the side just to kind of have some play money. Right. And this became a business. This became a business within a few months, and I remember sitting with some pretty successful people in the DC area, nightclub owners, some business people, real estate folks, um, and, sports team owners, that I got introduced to, and I'm blessed to have that group. And they said to me, "You should leave your job and you should go like just get your own media company. You should go build out like a wholesome bar stool." That's what they told me to do. And go build like a wholesome bar stool type of thing. And, you know, build this account more and do long form and do YouTube, and the brands will keep coming. And I thought to myself, like, if these wealthy people are telling me that, maybe I should do it. But I liked my job. I liked the clients I was working with, and the balance was fine. I wasn't that exhausted. And it wasn't, I was still being, my company allowed me to get the brand deals as long as they weren't conflicting with clients. But it ended up working out fine for the next year. And I was like, you know what? I want to put some money away. I want to have a nest egg. I'd like to also see if I can do both. Because at the time, I'm like, well, a lot of my life is tied to my job. So what happens if I leave my job? Does my content get worse? Whatever. Like that was a concern. But then year in, um, I start discovering through my appearances on Fox and other networks at the time, I was doing kind of guest interviews. I was also getting written up in articles by People Magazine and GQ and HGTV. And then I did a Food Network digital
Unbelievable.
series, a recipe series, like a 10, like as a couple episodes of 10 minutes of a cooking show. And I had watched Food Network with my grandmother for a bunch of years, and I'd still watched them before that. And now I'm doing a
Unreal.
digital show for one of the biggest brands in the world. I'm like, this is crazy. So that was the first inkling. I'm like, oh, I like being in front of the camera. And then we also had the Fox stuff, and I was doing interviews. And I remember going back in the Fox studio to do like, a 6 month check-in interview. And I said, wait a minute. What if I take this and go do what I've always wanted to do? The thing that I should have pursued in college, but instead I was pursuing the checked boxes thing that we talked about. And I gave up on myself really early. What if this is a second chance? What if the God or the spirits are giving me this opening? So I started coming back on and just do like, panel appearances and just as a guest, right? Not getting paid, whatever. That was fine.
So, Tone, real quick,
Yeah,
before we
sorry.
go too deep down that story, I just want to,
Yeah.
because it's incredible. I
Yeah.
want to go back to a point that you said when you first started creating content. You
Yeah.
said something that resonated with me, and it's something
Okay.
Parker and I have said for years, which was
Yeah.
if I can help one person, this will all be worth it. And I
Yes.
think back to when Parker and I started the podcast. We were two lonely, depressed, Big Four consultants who were promised the world by attending a Big 10 university and doing everything we say, air quotes, right. and I was
Right.
sold a bill
Checkbox?
of goods. Yeah, and we checked the box. I got the degree, we got the diploma, we got the Big Four consulting job, we got the high-paying job, and yet we both had never felt more empty in our lives. And so when we started the podcast, we said, "We're gonna get made fun of," and boy, did we. And our friends are gonna go, "What the heck are you doing?"
Yeah.
And they certainly did. But I will never forget when we got the first DM from a nice young lady who said, "You guys don't know me. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that I was not alone going through these struggles of young adulthood." And I remember looking at Parker and going, all these hours of us bashing our heads into a wall trying to figure out how to make a podcast, how to make a website, how to do all
Right.
this, like, this was all worth it. And then that one person
Yeah.
turned into many. And it's just a similar story to yourself where I think if you start something authentically because it brings you joy and you want to help others,
Yeah.
good things will happen. And Parker and I have said that from the jump with Elevation Nation. We don't make a lot of money doing this, but we get to help people and it brings us fulfillment. And I think, Tony, for you, going from I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this for, a invite to get a chicken sandwich somewhere at a, influencer event, to
Maybe.
maybe it'll help. Yeah, like maybe, and maybe it'll help one person, to, oh my gosh, this is turning into something
Right.
I imagine was scary. And I want to talk about that because
Mm.
I'm now feeling a little bit of that pressure. So I'm looking to you for some coaching of,
Yeah.
Parker and I have done this for 5 years. We are certainly not at the level that you are, but we're
No.
now
Yeah, come
speaking
on.
and it feels legit. And it's like people are looking at us as you guys are entrepreneurs and building this thing. And how are you
Yeah.
doing it? And that comes with pressure and sometimes pressure that you didn't want. And I know that happened for you where you wanted to bring joy and smiles to people's faces around outfits, things to do in DC, and cooking and movies, right? Like your passions. This was
Yeah.
for Tony.
Love it
And
all.
it turned into you were given a burden from many people, I think,
Good.
of you now are representing a lot of young men and
Mm.
young people's perspectives. And so
Yeah.
before we go into the broadcasting, which I do want to give you time to talk
Yeah.
about,
No,
I
no,
just
no. Of
wanted
course,
to
no.
talk about this because I think it's something Parker and I have felt too. Like this is hard now.
First of all, don't devalue yourself and the greatness you guys have achieved. First of
Thank you.
all, yeah, again, you guys have done incredible things that I hope to do. So I want you guys to know that you guys are inspirational to me as well. And this is a two-way street in my mind. I think the burden is very interesting. So when I first started this, I just wanted people to feel seen. Okay. If you're eccentric, if you're a little odd, if you don't drink, I haven't drank officially for a couple of years, but I never really drank anyway. And I always kind of felt insecure about it. If you are going through those insecurities with not drinking or not doing typical things as a young person, I wanted you to feel seen. That was the first thing I wanted to do because it didn't really matter what I was doing on the weekend. It just mattered to say, hey, you can go out too and experiment with life and try to savor things, right? I think what happened with my virality, and I've learned this from people that have, advised me, work with me, is that my audience kind of broke out into multiple buckets. There was about, I would say, 40% of my audience that is truly devoted and they get it. They know they want to feel seen. The mental health stuff resonates with them. A bunch of a bit more authenticity that resonates. And they think that I'm like Gen Z Mr. Rogers, which I'm not by any stretch of the imagination. Mr. Rogers is not nicer than I am, but maybe that's how I present sometimes to some people. But so there's 40% there. There's another like 30% or so that were like, is this guy for real? Is this all an act? Is he making fun of this? And we don't know what to do with it. Should we mock him? Should we kind of laugh along with him? Right. And they're like, they're kind of independent voters. We don't really know where they're going to go on my content. Right. And then you have another, I would say 30% that think that I'm a joke. They really do. And again, I've heard it in DMs and my comment section. And that 30% is where you see a lot in the comments section, which is why I've stopped looking at my comments over the last year because it's really my comment section can be it can be like some tongue-in-cheek jokes and like that are funny. And the big joke around my content with certain reveals. Okay. I'm not talking about that. There's also some comments that are very nasty and very much mocking me as a person and saying that that I'm not a person, that I'm just, this joke, that, I'm not good for men at all, that I'm just, a complete, just absolute disaster, right? And so it kind of goes, you either really love me or you really hate me. And I think getting the 30 to 35% or so saying to me constantly in my comments that I was really this awful person and that I'm just a joke made me feel like, oh, am I really a joke? Are people laughing at me? And then seeing people in real life come up to me in not just DC, but New York, Chicago, LA, say, hey, man, we love what you're doing. I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing something right. Then I had people DM me saying I was going through a suicidal time and your stuff got me through.
Mm,
Watching you every night was like a TV show. It made me feel good about myself. And I was
mm,
like, whoa. And then I would get more DMs like that. And people in the street come up to me and say that I was an escape for them. I made them feel good about themselves. I made them appreciate even little parts of life to feel better as time went on. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I still do struggle with people thinking that I'm a joke. Like, I struggle with that, and I go, "That's not what I want," and sometimes it hurts me with my account and with brands, like, that my comment section is can be really, really bad, and I sometimes think it also hurts my message because some folks might get turned off by it, and, whether it be, men, women, and I'm trying to diversify my audience to be for everybody because I think that, I think this universal struggle that Gen Z is going through. I think it's important to try to find the little moments where we can find some type of positivity that's reasonable, not kind of over the top positivity that distracts us, but that allows us to try to savor the best parts of things. And, for me, having people that actually care about it keeps me going as I've wanted to quit this many times. I have thought about many times going back to corporate because I just don't think it's good for my brain anymore. My mental health was really suffering about a year ago. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't take this heat. Because people were hating me not because I did anything or said anything that was cancelable. It was because I existed, and that was hard to
it's
grapple
hard.
with.
And I
So,
appreciate you bringing that up, Tony, because
no.
it was something I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
And, when when Parker and I have gotten our little bit of hate
It's
comments, I
hard.
don't have thick skin yet. And I was like, dude, oh my gosh, like, what did
Neither
we do?
do
What
I,
did we
my
say?
friend.
Why? Yeah, it's hard, man. And
You
like,
know,
I wanted to bring up a couple things. One of them being, I love that us three are having this conversation because Parker and I
yes.
oftentimes advertise ourselves, funny enough, as like we are typical frat boy, like we're Jewish frat boys from University of Maryland who love sports, but we get deep and we are like 70-year-old
Yeah.
year old men who talk about life and the hard things.
Love it.
And I love that this podcast is giving me an opportunity. Tony, you said that you're quirky and different. Us three are having a conversation as three very different men, all
Yeah.
trying to make the world a better place in our own unique ways. And I think there's
Right.
something so beautiful about that. And for people that don't like your stuff or our stuff, take the nuggets you like and politely disagree with the ones you don't. And
Right.
that's,
Yes.
it's like, why can't that be an option? And so I think the coolest part about the podcast and hopefully this opportunity is we now get to share more of Tony as a human. And I think people have seen it because you've done a great job of showing your life. But maybe when it's coming in that short form content, they can't get out of the Tony P and DC and
I
look at
can't.
Anthony as a person. And I
No.
hope that they can do that through this.
And I appreciate you saying that. I think what's really interesting about, I think, manhood and masculinity, and just for anybody, like for anybody, men and women that are going through the kind of young life crisis, right? And trying to figure out where they want to be in the early parts of their life. I think when it comes to us and with men in particular, if you are open at all about things and you talk about things that are deep and emotional or about the spirit or about your mental health, some guys will give you the side eye. I mean, we saw Dana White talk about it on a podcast where he was like, men, I hate when men talk about things on social media and open up and men just be stoic and, you know, talk about nothing and make money and provide and protect. And, I hate not to be rude, but Dana White has history of domestic violence. I don't want to hear anything about masculinity from a man that puts his hands on a woman. I don't want to hear anything from him. And he could take a seat when it comes to masculinity and manhood, especially when he has totally just bogus claims to say like that men shouldn't open up. We absolutely should open up because friendships are important. We talk about loneliness. Young men are
Because
getting
we're
a
human.
we're human.
We're
Human, also
human.
gentlemen. What's wrong with being gentle? What happened to gentlemen? That's a good thing, right? And being gentle and open and kind and warm and, God forbid, sensitive and bringing that all out and talking about it, that's humanity. And that's important. And, women have been telling us this for years. Before it was a big, mental health crisis, they were saying, hey, go to therapy, try to embrace your feminine side, try to embrace the things that you love that you don't want to talk about because you're afraid of upsetting your guy friends. If if they're going to be upset by what you say and what you open up about, they're not your friends at all. Like, I'm blessed that I have men in my life of all backgrounds that want to hear these things, that also say it to me and how they're feeling. And, we talk about tough issues, social issues, we talk about masculinity, we talk about, making sure, that we talk, pro-feminist stuff. We talk about mental health and making sure, everybody's included and that we make sure that people feel welcome in our friendship circle. And we talk about these things that are important. Nothing is off limits. And I'm blessed by that, but not every guy has that. And I think in this moment, whether it be this podcast or even the content that I put out there or, just other voices that are coming into the fray that really are important, we have to give men permission to be open. It's okay to talk about tough things. It's okay to be open to people. It's okay to be inclusive and to be loving and to be warm. Like, we have to break down this barrier because if we don't, we're headed down a path that's going to be really, really ugly. And we have ugly forces out there that are telling men online to be misogynistic, to be mean, to be overly stoic to the point of repressing emotions and, you know, not being gentle and not being kind. And like, we have to find a way to have more conversations like this because it's important and it's important for
I
everybody.
it's at the core of why we started Elevation Nation, Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard from Sam a little bit. We were going through our own struggles. We needed a place to talk about it, and then we're like, oh, we
Well,
should all ask some other people about how they go
right.
through and think about their own life.
Yeah.
So vulnerability is at the core of everything we do, whether it's the podcast or a speaking event. But what we talk about at Elevation Nation and what we're so caught up in is the idea of mental fortitude. And mental fortitude
Yes.
sometimes is the thing that men need to look inward because it's hard, it's
Yes.
uncomfortable,
Yes.
it's not necessarily always fun. But it's Sam and I believe that that mental fortitude to look inward is actually not going to have you sitting in a corner in your bedroom every single day weeping and crying. It's through that emotional analysis,
Yeah.
looking in who you are, what you want out of your life, what you're inspired by, the people that you love, the things that you love to do, by having those inward conversations that are really challenging. That is how we then go move forward and make a life for ourselves, whether it be in the professional world, personal life, but also make an impact in the world for others. And through that mental fortitude, through that introspection, that is how we make the world a better place. And so I completely agree with you. We need to be teaching people, men in particular, I think a little
Yes.
bit
We're
more,
all
that
men here.
using mental fortitude to look inward and be vulnerable is an incredible thing.
Yes. And it's a form of mental toughness, right? Where there's a line in the movie Good Will Hunting where Robin Williams' character says to Matt Damon's character, you don't want to talk about things, do you, sport? Because you're terrified of what you might say, right? And that's such a true comment that so many guys are afraid of what they might say because it's easy to have friendships that are surface level, that are based on golfing and watching football, and the whole thing of your conversation is about, what podcast you're listening to, ironically. Or what sport you're playing, or, this typical just surface level topics, right? Whereas when you get to talk to your guys about, hey, I need some help with this, and I need to get through what I'm dealing with, mental health issues, or I feel like a loser because I missed out on this deal, or I lost this consulting job, or I missed the presentation, or, hey, I want to speak out about something and I'm afraid to do it. How do I get involved with certain things? That is where really just a good foundational friend group that invests in that mental fortitude with you to, hey, it's okay to go through that fear. But once you get through it, you're going to be free of that.
Can I
That's
can
the,
I say so can I jump in right quick
yeah, yeah,
on
of
this? And
course.
I'm gonna get a little vulnerable because sometimes, Sam and I, we've done the podcast 500 episodes, right? We've spoken
Wow.
in front of tens of
Congratulations.
thousands of people. And, oftentimes we're portraying a character, but also,
Yeah.
hey, like, we're your motivator, that to look inward, to get introspective. And sometimes I feel like an imposter because maybe I shouldn't be the one who is like saying, "Oh, I'm not doing well," because I'm supposed to be on the stage to tell you this is how it's supposed to
Yes.
go.
Yep.
And my question for you, Tony, is like you say you're the positivity guy, and I imagine that you struggled immensely at times because people are expecting you to be always positive.
Yes. It can be
How do
a
you
performance.
how do you handle that?
I've adopted the phrase reasonable positivity recently, and I think are reasonably positive. And I think it's good to be positive when it's warranted and when I think other people will benefit from it. If you can help them see the positive side of things, if you can help them see the learning opportunity, right? But look at the world we're living in. Like AI is telling us we don't know what we're going to do with you. Like AI is like, we don't even know what we're going to be doing here. AI is taking over. We got all this stuff that is just making us really fearful and for a lot of good reason for it. And we can't afford anything. We don't know what our finances are going to look like. We don't know what our family life's going to look like, right? Geopolitical with wars and stuff here in the country and the division and the hate and all those things that we're seeing online and in real life that we don't know what to do. And so then that can make us feel really lost and also negative. It makes me feel negative. Like I am very nervous and scared for what's coming for humanity, not just in this country, but around the world. Like we have lost our empathy. We have lost our ability to care in a lot of ways. And I go, how can I be somewhat helpful with that without being a distraction? Because if you watched the Hunger Games before, any guys? Okay, Caesar Flickerman, right? The broadcaster. He tries to get you to be distracted from what's going on at the Hunger Games and what the Capitol's doing, right? My goal is not to do that. My goal is to give you a place where you can feel seen in times of trouble and things are stressful economically or socially or whatever the world is, business, politically, right? But also, I'm going to give it to you real and straight too, that things aren't easy, that things is okay to not be okay. And I think there's a balance there where you can be positive within a reason and positive for a reason, right? Versus just being positive to be positive. Because too many people, only good vibes only. It's like, no, we're not in that time right now. People are struggling and we need to be honest and positive when we can be. So that's kind of my view of it. But I think, in my own personal life, the same thing. Like, I mean, I've had multiple struggles, mental health wise in my life, things with my own self confidence, doing content and broadcasting and like, having panic attacks on TV. Like, I've had those things and also financially. Like I made some terrible investments when I made a lot of money in the first couple of years of this. I blew a lot of it. I had to like scratch and claw to get some of it back because I was like I blew a lot of money on things I shouldn't have spent money on, investments that were really bad and that were sexier than other investments and I, had those moments and then plus, just awful spending. And
Yeah.
and having to like deal with that and like going 3 to 4 months without any consulting revenue at one point, also going 8 months without any revenue from brands for a while. Like that was a lot to deal with. And I thought to myself, like, hey, am I done? Is this my career's over with this? Like, and with all my horrible spending and investments, am I gonna be all right? And, you know, so I've had, again, they're all Cadillac problems compared to what most people are going through right now. But I think just to give the personal lens, you can't always be positive, but I think if you can find a nugget, a thing, an event you're looking forward to, a part of yourself that you like that gives you hope for the next day, take it and bring it as a part of you. doesn't have to be the only thing. You can deal with all the anger and the frustration, but just bring the positivity in there where you can, and it kind of lessens the blow a little bit.
Remember where we heard this, Parker. I feel like it was this week. Someone said, "How do you make the world a better place when there's so many things to change?" And they said, "Go home, look at yourself in the mirror, and smile at yourself. Start
Yes.
there." And I thought that I don't remember. I don't
Right.
know who was told that to us, Parker, but it's a great quote. And I think I'm with you. It's hard sometimes to always be positive, of course,
It's so hard.
but I also feel irresponsible if I'm not positive. Like, what in my
Yeah.
life is that bad right now? And sometimes I gotta
Right.
snap myself out of it and
Totally.
fake my positivity. And it's not
And
me
that's
being in
okay.
yeah, like I'm not being disingenuous. I'm
No.
trying to trick my own brain. And I think as I've gotten older, probably the biggest lesson I've learned from my 20s is I can trick myself more than I
Yes.
give myself credit for. No, you don't want to go to the gym. Like, you're going to feel worse about yourself if you don't go to the gym. Like, go to the gym, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do I play myself in these mind games to try to make my life more positive and more effective? And that's been
Yeah.
Well, you
something that
practice
I think has helped me.
gratitude.
That too. Yeah.
Right, and I think in doing it in a very intentional way, right? Like, am I
Yeah.
grateful for certain opportunities? Am I grateful for the impact I get to have, right? And I think when you can center your gratitude on what you're doing for other people, I think it's really effective. I think,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm grateful for, for this thing I bought." It's like, no, like, that's not a thing. I'm grateful for food today. I'm grateful that I was able to give some money to this thing, or I was able to help this person with their journey, right? That's where I think gratitude does such wonders, and I don't journal enough, and I probably should, because I think it'd
Mm.
be a good healthy outlet. But I think when looking at, being positive generally, you have to really think about the other person, right? Like, I'm being positive to help somebody else here because
Yeah.
they may be having an awful day and their interaction with you might make them feel 20 times better and might put them on a track where they feel better and they get more engaged in the world, right? I mean, you think about, whether it be, the greatest, athletes, the greatest leaders, the greatest activists, and just people that made social change in our history and that built incredible technological advances or cured diseases. How many times did they have moments where they were cast out, ostracized, laughed at, hated, and they kept coming back? They sacrificed time, they sacrificed their lives in many occasions too, their reputations, and they kept coming back. So that doesn't mean you have to be all the time, "Oh my god, the world is so beautiful." But it means to have a little bit of positivity in your heart and a little bit of hope so that you can continue to fight, not just for your own life, but fight for other people too, and be able to make that impact.
That's mental fortitude right there.
It is. Or true for
The
others.
courage to push through,
Right.
regardless, because you believe in it, right?
Yes. You believe in yourself and you believe in the vision that you have.
Mm, Now we're talking the same language. I
Yes.
mean, we were the whole time, but now we're
Right.
really on the
It's
same
like
page here, Tony.
we're getting like just totally in the zone here.
I love it. I love
We're
it.
setting
Well,
the tone.
setting the tone. We always are setting the tone by communicating anything from our heads. We're
Anyway.
setting a tone.
Right. And
Tony,
hold you accountable. It's
tell
important.
us like what's next for you. Like what it's
Uh,
July in
yeah.
2026.
Hmm.
What's coming up?
Man, I mean, it's funny. I've been thinking about this question through my head just in life generally. So for me, 3.5 years into this, have been blessed by the love and the support and people telling me to keep going, have also dealt with some of the negativity, as we know. I think for me is I'm in a very much a state of like, I'm kind of in limbo. I don't really know what I want to do next in terms of this account because, it's helped me get to a really great, incredible, basically it's one of my jobs in life at Fox here in DC, doing an incredible news show every night, hosting pop culture shows and being a panelist on some with some of the greatest journalists and anchors that I could ever ask to work with, and just true professionals that have had incredible experience and should all have their own shows nationally, in my opinion. But just truly great people to work with the best. I think for me, I want to go from being the internet meme, the positive guy that's like, that's great, but also I was known by a lot of folks as the internet meme. They call it LOL cows, which is like something that gets a lot of laughs out of people, is like, people like to kind of mock at times too. I'd like to find a way to get rid of that branding and go become not only an entertainer, a talk show host, whether it be mornings, daytime, or even late night. I'll take any slot any network would ever give me. Right now, I do 9 o'clock news and I love it. Like any time I'll take. But to be somebody that's actually known for being talented, I think that's kind of what I'd like to be known as. Like my vision is to not be doing fit checks in my 50s or doing, day in the life of a 50
I don't
year
know. You
old,
got some nice suits, Tony. We could keep it coming
Thank you,
here.
thank you. I mean, I appreciate that, but, like, I don't have a desire to be doing that
Yeah,
for forever and ever. Like, it's been great, and I love what the content does for other people, not the formats themselves.
sure.
I just have gotten hooked on it because people love them, and people, like, will say it brings me inspiration, it gives me comfort and peace, and I'm like, I don't wanna give that up, but at the same time,
It's hard.
I also wanna pivot to go do a thing that I think will bring in more people for different reasons and potentially will showcase a talent that I think I have, whether it be entertaining or being, a talk show host or a game show host, whatever that looks like, and then maybe even doing more comedic stuff because I feel a sense that I could, no, I mean, again, stand up is something that is so hard and is a craft and I think it's disrespected. People think that they can just go be comics because they're funny. It's like, no, comedy is an art form. So I'm not saying be a stand up. I'm just saying I could be a little more quirky and I could lean into that. So to kind of put it together, the vision for me is to try to pivot the Tony P in DC, the kind of quirky bachelor internet meme, right? And go become a real entertainer and go become known as like Tony P, the talk show host. I look at guys like Subway Takes Kareem, who's a wonderful guy. Love him. He's been a supporter of mine. Or Track Star with Jack, great guy. Or Chicken Shop Date or Kiki Palmer's podcast. Like I look at those folks, Shannon Sharp, who's built an incredible platform. That's what I'd like to go try to do is like, go become a host and bring other people in and start to interview people more and have great conversations and draw out great insights and maybe come up with a game show of my own, right? Or, someday get a national show through a network. Whether it be, maybe be the next Phil Donahue. Again, never been like that. But like, you know, I like to be in his image, not the next Phil, but be in his image. Like a Phil Donahue or Maury Povich or Regis Philbin or Oprah.
Mm.
Like if I could do that, that would be the most incredible thing, is then I could take the little nuggets of good stuff that I do in my short form and make it bigger and make it more present. Because I think a lot of reasons why people don't always love my stuff and think I'm a fraud or someone to mock is because I show people what I do and it's authentic. Like I do solo karaoke night. I love rom-coms and making brownies at night. I love that stuff. I live for it. However, I haven't done a really good job of showing people who I am. And I think
Mm.
there are ways to do it in this next chapter of my life, of my career, where I can leverage my platform to try new things that leverage more of my heart versus just
Well,
what I do.
Tony, you've shared your heart with us
So
here
that
today,
wasn't
and I
too much.
think
I
this
apologize.
no, this dude, this is what we do, and this is what we love, and I think you are a great example of someone who is continuing to follow their dreams. And what Parker and I have continued to say with the podcast, because we also don't know where we're going. I think we're all in limbo and we're all
Yeah,
confused,
it's
but
9
we
different
continued.
ideas in your head.
Yeah.
Oh,
You continue to plant the seeds and you don't know which ones are going to sprout. And if you continue to be authentically Tony and Sam and Parker can be authentically Elevation Nation,
right.
I'm so excited that hopefully the paths we are on, I have no doubt in my mind that we are all going incredible places to make the world a better place. And so I love where you're headed. I love where you're going. I am excited that we are now friends to help support each other
Oh,
on our
please,
journeys,
anything
because I think we
else?
have a lot in common to help. I want to bring us, Tony, into our next section here.
Yes.
We got some rapid fire questions for you,
Oh, I like
some
these.
quick takes. So
Oh,
we're gonna pretend that
I
you're
like
on a
Subway
timer
takes.
on live TV. Exactly. So we're gonna start easy. I'm a
Okay.
foodie.
All right.
I think the DMV gets an underrated food scene rep. You got a favorite food spot that you're loving right now in the DMV?
I mean, the greatest food spot in DC is Ben's Chili Bowl. There's nothing that comes close to it,
Classic.
and
There you
it's
go.
so good. They have one at DCA Airport, and it's nearly as good as
Isn't
the
that crazy?
one the main
That's when
location.
you know.
It just reopened after about, I think it was a year or 2 of being away. We interviewed the owner, and the whole family, and it was truly just an honor and a privilege. Like, not only a great, you know, just member of the DC community and a great business person and just a wonderful, just like, chef and culinary artist, we'll call it, right? But also just a really great, social leader. And to interview her to talk about what her journey was, and her and her husband that built that over, God, 70, 80 years. You can't go wrong with Ben's Chili Bowl for its history, its incredible food, and its connection to the community.
Shout out Ben's Chili Bowl. I
Yes.
mean, my question for you, Tony P. I watched your video on Trackstar. I love what they're doing at Trackstar.
I
It's an
think
old
they
one,
great.
right? It was like last year. They're great.
Year
They got me
years
every
old
time.
ago. Yeah, no, they were just one. I mean, Jack has built something incredible. I mean, I think they just got some fundraising for, they have a big office now, like, they're investing heavily. And, I mean, when I was on it, they were in a small office. Now they're in this, like,
Mm,
big thing. They got the podcast, they got the app that's coming out. What they have built is truly incredible, and it's what I'm trying to do. Like, and they've been
okay.
so
So, my rapid fire for you then. If you could listen to one song on repeat for the rest of your life, what is that song?
there's so many of them, but on repeat. I would listen to "Hello Again" by Neil Diamond. Now, Neil Diamond's my favorite artist because my grandmother and I shared that together for a lot of years. And "Hello Again" for me is a very cathartic song that I listen to when I think about her. And I think about the memories with her over the years, and she's been gone for almost 15 years. But I use that song to be a very reflective one about my childhood, about the memories that I love so much, and about those family connections. So if I had to listen to that and I wanted to feel that energy, I would do that. I would listen to that forever and ever. It's just a beautiful, beautiful song.
It's beautiful. I love that. All right, our last rapid fire for you, Tony.
All
Parker and
right.
we love to read. I know you're a movie guy, but we want to ask you, you have any book recommendations for us?
Oh, it's funny. So I just I just finished reading a book by a buddy of mine who's also a really good YouTube, Instagram creator. He's got, like, I think, a half a million plus followers, even almost a million. Jeff Rossio. He wrote a book called Into the Stream, which
Hmm,
is about how movies have been kind of corrupted by streaming world. There's too much content out there, and what the future of movies could look like. That's one of my favorite ones. I think it's really, really good. Pick it up. Also, kind of similar to that, Johnny Carson's biography that was not written by him, but it's called Johnny Carson, and it's a really, really great book about his career and how he just built one of the greatest franchises in TV history. I mean, you can't get any better than that one. And I think my final one, and my agent sent me this, is Steal Like an Artist. It's a really cool book about how to be creative in a world where basically everything has been taken, right? How do you iterate and make it your own and make it your little niche, right? So that's my favorite kind of practical book that I would give to people, would be that one, be like Steal Like an Artist. And it kind of sounds funny, but I thought it was really
I think it's awesome. If we were in my actual studio, you'd see the bookshelf of all the books
love a
we've
book.
asked
That is a
people.
great to have.
I mean, totally. My bookshelf is overflowing with recommendations that we've gotten from Elevation Nation,
That's good.
especially the ones who give 3 recommendations. So now I got 3 more books
Well,
to
I gave
add.
you
So
three. Again, I can't
I'm
make
just saying
decisions.
it's okay. It's okay. But I got one last question for you.
Yeah,
This
of
isn't a
course.
rapid fire. We
No,
ask
no.
every single person who's joined Elevation Nation a question about the mental motto. We've spoken on
Yes.
stages and people have written
Yeah.
mental mottos. We've heard mental mottos through the podcast. A mental motto is a phrase, a slogan, a quote that embodies who you are and your mental fortitude. So Sam and I, and obviously Elevation Nation, we're so curious, Tony. What's your mental motto?
So I had a few of these, and I was like thinking, should I just do the one that I kind of, really gone with for years? Should I do the newer ones? but I'll give you my favorite. All right. This is a few of them. It's a movie line, but I love it so much. It's from the movie Rounders, where one of the characters says, "We can't run from who we are. Our destiny chooses us." And I think when you have that view of that, your destiny is life is choosing you to do something. And it may not be clear to you, but with that choice that's been handed to you, you have to take it and run with it and never take a step back. And I tell folks all the time that get up on stage for the first time, somebody gave you that platform for a reason. Don't ever take a step back. Take a step forward. And so that for me, like, just don't run from who you are. Like run towards it.
It's beautiful. Tony, on behalf of, Parker, myself, all of
Mm.
Elevation Nation, we are grateful for who you are.
Thank you guys.
I
I was honored.
love I love that we're on similar journeys and we're
Yes.
being authentically ourselves as we fumble and stumble and rumble our way through young adulthood and trying to make the world a better place. I know we're all going to figure it out together in due time and hopefully make the world a better place as we do it. And so, Tony, thank
Thank
you for joining Elevation Nation. We appreciate you, brother.
Sam, Parker, thank you guys for giving me the platform to talk about these things and allow me to be so open and for you guys being so open. This is the kind of conversation that we need more of. So what you guys are building is incredible. I know it's going to get into the millions and millions very soon. And you're going to have not just a platform, but a movement, guys. So congratulations on all your success. And thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure.
All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week, peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Elevation Nation. If you enjoyed our conversation, hit that subscribe button to get notified when we release a new episode. If you would like to join Elevation Nation or get more information about the nation, please visit our website at www.elevationnation.io. Until next week, Elevation Nation, peace.